We're back and we've got Mr. Magoo here, and we're going to work on Mr. Magoo's sit. I think everybody feels like their dog knows sit. They know it with a treat, or they know it with some kind of hand signal, or maybe a little leash pressure, or maybe a combination thereof. But just because your dog knows sit, it's not the same thing as if your dog knows sit with e-collar pressure. So I don't want you to get frustrated or annoyed with him if you start working through this and you're like, I know this guy knows sit, but when you start pressing the button, it's a different sensation and it's a distraction of its own, which can cause the dog to have a hard time actually processing what you're looking for. So I want you to give your dog the benefit of the doubt as you start to incorporate e-collar sensation, that it doesn't mean your dog's being a brat necessarily. It might mean he's just distracted by the different sensation. So I'm going to move him around a little bit, and then I'm going to start asking for some sits, and here's the way it's going to look. I'm going to say the command, sit. I'm going to press the button. I'm going to hold the button. I'm going to give him leash guidance up if he needs it, and as soon as his butt hits the ground, the button goes off here, marker with good, and then you let's go and repeat the process. So let's see how this handsome devil does. Bring him around, just give him a little movement. We'll bring him front and center for his handsome stuff. Sit. Good boy, good boy. So a pretty cool thing happened that's good for me to share with you guys. So we're at level 5, which is what we've been using for this guy for most of the stuff we've been doing. But what I notice is when I ask him to sit and I press the button, it feels like it's a little bit too intense for him. And that's not totally unusual. So some exercises that require very little of the dog, that are very easy, that don't necessitate a ton of movement, actually they don't need quite as much stimulation in order to motivate the dog. So what can happen sometimes is you need more level for a recall, but for a sit, you have to dial back down to find some comfort. The trick in all this e-collar training is really for all you guys to not be focused on this number and this remote, focus on this dude. If you're like, well, typically he works at a 6 or 7, but today you're pressing 6 or 7 and he's upset, then it's not the right level. Time to adjust, always watch your dog. So at 5, he looked a little bit uncomfortable with it, so I'm gonna dial down to 4 and see what his response is. So sit. Good, much better, right? Good boy. So I'm going to do a few more reps and then we'll move into phase 2.